This is Massimini Trains is the username. It says, how should I deal with Social Security in early retirement? I'm planning on retiring at 45, so I won't have Social Security for over 20 years. Can my number be lower knowing that I have Social Security coming?
When is Massimini going to retire?
At 45. He didn't say his age, so if you'd like to share that would be helpful information. But that's pretty early.
Well, let me tell you Brian. Here's what so you can think about. I want you to answer all like when can I draw Social Security and what happens when I do that and all that. Here's just a common fallacy that a lot of our early retirees have, and I actually had to go over this with a client in their retirement meeting yesterday. When you go look at your Social Security statement, you go to ssa.gov and you pull that down, one of the things it'll give you is like what your estimated benefit is going to be. And the way they calculate that is based on your earnings record that you've earned up until that point, and they make some assumptions of what you will continue to earn until you retire. Well, if you want to have an accurate number around what your Social Security benefit is going to be, and you're someone who is retiring early, you have to go a step further. You have to actually calculate what happens if I check out of the workforce at age 45 and I do not pay into the system between age 45 and 65. And what you're going to figure out is that your benefit is going to be likely substantially less than what the estimated benefit was on your Social Security statement. So you have to notice that. So I would argue, Massimini,
Just go Mass.
One of the things that you have to think through is if I am retiring early and I'm not going to be paying into the Social Security system, my Social Security is going to be less, so I need to save even more. I need to be even more prepared for that. That's just a caveat that we see a lot of people miss. I think it'd be interesting to talk about some of the options around Social Security.
Well, I want to talk about mindset stuff too, is because Mass here is retiring at 45 is a very aggressive goal. Mm-hmm. So that's going to require you making some life decisions where you're going to be saving a ton of your, a large percentage of your take-home pay. And then I need you to have your assumptions for what the next chapter of your life, your next endeavor of life is going to look like. It needs to be as conservative as possible so that you don't, get to be 47 years old and realize, oh my gosh, there's so many things I just was not aware of, or 52 years of age, whatever year in the future after you make that threshold of walking away from your high income. Social Security, I don't mind sharing with you. I'm somewhat biased on it, having a father that passed away in his early 50s. I got ticked off when I saw how survivors are treated with Social Security. And then when you research how the funding of Social Security is handled by our government, any young person, you need to be very skeptical that you can assume that this thing is going to pay large sums of money to you. Now, hopefully you get old enough and you get that key demographic that all politicians love, which is older people that vote consistently, and they're going to cater to you. But young people, be careful of Social Security because it's just not on the most stable financial situation. So I would.
So in that vein, if you're 33 years old, that qualifies on the younger end of the spectrum. I would be careful counting on Social Security to be a huge part of my retirement income.
Now, if his question is, am I taking this at 62? Am I taking this at 67? Am I waiting until I'm 70 and 70 and beyond to maximize this? You're way getting in the details on something that we don't even know what the dynamics or the assumptions. I will tell you, for just people who are getting closer, because there's going to be a lot of people in our audience that are in their 60s and trying to figure this out, is that I think 62 is a sucker's bet for most people. Now, if you're a working couple, both of you worked, there's a lot of times where you will do strategies where the spouse that retires earlier or who doesn't have the higher income might take it at 62, and then because you're going to hit the family maximum anyway, there's some dynamics that you can take advantage of. But for most people, if you were just looking at your earnings base, you're going to want to wait until you're somewhat closer beyond 65 or even full retirement age, just because the government penalizes you for working under 65. They severely discount your benefit. And then for people who have saved a lot and life expectancy, meaning you have good family history for living beyond 70, There is something to be said for full retirement age day 70. They give you a guaranteed 8% increase every year. That's a pretty good
Strong.
guaranteed rate of return that takes the risk off of assuming the system doesn't fall in upon itself. But it is one of those things where, once again, this is another part where personal finance gets very personal when you get these decisions. But if I'm in my mid 30, early 30s, thinking about that I'm going to be part of the FIND movement and move to a next endeavor in my mid 40s, Social Security is more of a asterisk or footnote thing that I put in there. This is not the main driver of my decision matrix. It's more on you and what you're saving and building so that you don't have any regrets or some uh-ohs when you make those big decisions.
It's great.